And then I said, I'm not the father.
Hilarious, God. Priceless. Oh hey there kids, welcome to an existential episode of Botany and Bathrobes. I'm your host, Archibald, and this is my friend, Bartholomew, and we're talking about existentialism. Bam! Bold font!
Existentialism is a type of philosophy which is difficult to define because it does not have any agreed body of doctrine to it. It is rather a way of doing philosophy in which life and thought are closely related to each other. Extreme individualism, an emphasis on freedom and responsibility, and the insistence that we and not the world give meaning to our lives. That's the key. It's like Moby Dick said in his great journey across the Indian Ocean, don't trust the waters that you roam, trust your heart.
The writings of Soren Kierkegaard provided the base upon which later thinkers and artists built up the edifice of existential philosophy. Kierkegaard was a Danish philosopher deeply interested in human psychology and Christian ethics. His principal concerns were how people responded under crisis and the choices one made in shaping one's life. One of his most famous works is Fear and Trembling. What a read. That's an exploration of the nature of faith in the face of complete loss and fear. A speculation on psychology and the emotions of Abraham when asked by God to sacrifice his son Isaac, Fear and Trembling is a fundamental work in the canon of Christian existentialism. More than that, Kierkegaard paints a portrait of total loneliness, secrecy, doubt, and finally, resignation to fate. His work complicates the simplistic and ideal notions of religious faith, showing real and absolute faith to be a kind of limitless, timeless sacrifice to an unknowable being. Later existentialist thinkers would frame their discourse differently, but Kierkegaard's basic tenets have remained powerfully influential for generations of artists and thinkers.
Oh hey, P-Lit students. I was just reading a great little ditty right here, The Metamorphosis. Probably never heard of it. But the writings of Franz Kafka have long been associated with 20th century existentialism. Like many existential writers, Franz Kafka saw the individual as being caught up in systems and bureaucracies that were beyond understanding. Even existence becomes a kind of control over personal autonomy. The natural response to this is to resign from life, but Kafka presents the situation with dry humor. He approaches the inherent terror of existence with a wink and a nod, and he embraces the absurdity of everything. And for our next segment, we go to the Sagittarius Contemplation Corner with our friend and co-worker and lover, Sagittarius. Hello and welcome to another segment of Sagittarius's Contemplation Corner with your host, Sagittarius.
Oh hey, you just caught me contemplating my existence, much like an existentialist does. Let's talk about that. In existentialism, existence is both a freedom and despair. In a world without apparent meaning or direction, the individual is radically free to act. Most individuals are afraid to confront the responsibility entailed by radical freedom. In Sartrean terms, bad faith and inauthenticity allow individuals to consider themselves as an essence, a fixed entity. However, in contrast, the existential individual refuses illusions. Death looms as a boundary situation, defining the limits of existence. The recognition of such limits and the responsibility for one's actions lead to an existential despair that can overwhelm the individual.
Well, that's been all for this episode of Botany and Bathrobes. Join us next week when we discuss the nuances of knitting and whether or not 9/11 was an inside job. Thanks for watching.